Welcome to Objectionable. In this episode, we'll take a look at the real-life cop shows and the ubiquitous mobile phone footage doing the rounds on the internet and see just how well they're doing in terms of the law. For the sake of keeping things brief, what follows is not the entire of the legal position and is fact-specific to the clips that we're seeing. So if you're stopped or called in for a police interview, get a solicitor. It's free and will stop liberties being taken and ensure you're treated fairly. There is no such thing as a casual chat with a police officer. It's also worth mentioning that the thousands of public and police interactions that occur every day are not shown on the internet and TV because they're decent, honest, lawful and proper, so please do not assume that this video is about taking a pop. That said, let's dive right in with the first clip. First up is Street Crime UK. This is from Series 1, Episode 4, broadcast in 2002.
I'm fine.
Pour it out, put it in the bin.
Hello?
Alcohol drinking in areas where street drinking is banned, I
Pick
assume.
it up, pour it out.
Just 3 coppers doing their job so far.
No,
And even a please.
You're not willing to do that?
I've paid for that alcohol, so why should I pour it out in the bin? Thank you, you'll do it.
What's your name, please?
Hey, what's the crack here?
Let's stop here. Whatever happens next, this guy is a pillock. That much is pretty clear.
Name? I've done nothing wrong. So why
You've got
are you
alcohol
calling
in the
me?
street. You got alcohol in the street. You've got an open bottle in the street. You shouldn't have it.
Oh, well, that's a serious, mega crime, innit?
Right now it is,
I'm a
yeah.
major crime. You know what I mean?
Well, if you play your cards right, all you need to do is
I'm
give
not
me a
being
name.
funny, mate, but what are you pulling me?
Right, swear once more, you'll be arrested. Don't swear again. And
I'm
pick
sorry.
up your litter, please.
I'm sorry, Baldy.
Swear once more, you'll be arrested. Really? For what? Swearing at the police is not a criminal offence, and he apologises, which is nice. But then neither is calling a cop a baldy.
You can call me Baldy or like. Don't bother me.
I didn't call you Baldy, Baldy.
Yeah, 10-4, just wanted you to cast your eye over a fact.
What's your name, please?
That sigh from the female officer is telling. Yep, this is a tedious thing to have to deal with, I am pretty sure.
Name and address now, or I'll arrest you.
Right, my name is... Can I mention?
You're under arrest.
For what? For what?
You swore at me, I warned you. Now you won't give me a
I'm
name
under
and
arrest
address.
for what?
Because you swore at me. Now you won't give me a name and address. That means I can arrest
I'm
you.
under arrest?
Yep.
You got this on camera, sir? Have you? I'm under arrest for what?
In you get.
I'm under arrest because I didn't give him my name.
Partially.
Name and address or I'll arrest you. The reason for the arrest that's given is swearing at the officer and not giving his name and address. Nope, not for swearing, as you know. So this officer's got himself in a muddle where one mistake's led to another. Let's work backwards with a simplified bit of law. The power to arrest for failing to give your name and address comes from Section 50 of the Police Reform Act 2002, so new stuff when this was filmed. Or it can come from Code A of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, ignoring terrorism stuff for a moment. But both of these powers, and one other one about royal parks, only apply if the officer believes that you've committed a criminal offence. Drinking in an alcohol-free zone where it's set out by law results in the alcohol being confiscated, and that's about it. Only if the person appears to be or is under 18 do you get fines or prosecution, or if the police reasonably believe you're going to give the booze to a minor. None of that here. So the officer uses the swearing name-calling thing as his partial reason for the arrest, but we know that can't be right. Go and read a case called DPP against Oram for why that's not an offence. So this arrest is, on the face of it, totally unlawful. Alright, so how could this have gone differently? Taking the booze away and walking away, which is what the law required them to do, so a bad decision here. Rating for legal accuracy then 2 out of 10, I'm afraid, mainly, the reason it gets 2 at all, for the correct actions of the first officer for taking away the tinny. Clip 2 then, from my favourite tech show on the BBC News channel featuring Spencer, whatever his name is. Okay, it's the only one. From May 2019.
The front line in facial recognition.
Now, this is the trial of facial recognition in East London. The controversial decision to do this caused quite a stink at the time.
If you refuse, here's what can happen.
Don't cover my face, I cover my face. Don't push me over when I'm walking down the street.
This man didn't want to be caught by the police cameras, so he covered his face. Police stopped him, they photographed him anyway, an argument followed.
Refusing to be subjected to such broad facial recognition is not illegal in the UK. The law around the use of these methods is particularly sketchy at present, and given the 2021 criminal records scandal where Priti Patel's department lost over 400,000 criminal records and lied about it, it's hardly surprising that people do not trust mass surveillance technology. Also, during the COVID-19 pandemic, all such technology was rendered useless anyway.
How would you like it if you walk down the street and someone grabbed you? Hold yourself down, you go and hang. That's you. You would like it, would you? You mind your...
Telling a rightly angry man to wind his neck in is not exactly good neighbourhood policing strategy in this situation, I would argue. He's clearly objecting to being grabbed, if you listen, and there was no power for the officer to lay hands on him at all. This is assault under English law, plain and simple. It sounded like he also didn't want to be pushed around by a group of plod playing with their new toy whilst he was just walking down the street. Photographed and then filmed by the BBC, it's utterly inflammatory. I would be getting annoyed too.
What's your suspicion?
Good for you, passerby. She is absolutely correct, and her view was echoed by most of the country that saw this video.
The same. No, it doesn't.
The police said this was disorderly behaviour, so they gave him a fine.
A fine for disorderly behaviour for this is disgusting. The police have effectively created an offence through their own actions here.
The chap told me down the road, he said he got facial recognition. So I walked past like that. It's a cold day as well. As I've done that, the police officers asked me to come to him, so I've got me back up. I said to him, off, basically.
Again, swearing at a police officer is not an offence.
I said, I don't want my face shown on anything. If I want to cover my face, I'll cover my face. It's not for them to tell me not to cover my face. I've got a now £90 fine. There you go. Look at that.
I do hope he didn't pay it. He needed a lawyer. Now, I do know that Metropolitan Police were asked about this and said, contrary to the copper explaining to the passerby that, quote, people covering their faces around facial recognition cameras would, again, quote, not necessarily be viewed as suspicious, maybe the plonker in this video didn't get that memo. Also, according to an organisation monitoring this trial, what you didn't see in the video was that the officer also demanded to see identification papers from the man. That's when he swore, and to be honest, I would too. All worth it if you get the collars though, right? Nope. The Independent revealed that more than £200,000 was spent on 6 deployments of this technology in that trial, and it resulted in no arrests between August 2016 and July of last year. 2 people wanted for violent offences were arrested after a trial in December, and when they trialled it in central London, they broke the law by not placing signs in the area affected by the trial, and later went on to deny it. The score here, I'm afraid, is a cold 0 out of 10. This was wrong from start to finish, and if you do know whether the man paid his fixed penalty notice, please do let us know. Onwards to clip 3, traffic stop phone footage that was in the press in June 2020.
Just with a stop motorist, I'm with the sergeant, we'll be state 5 in a couple of seconds.
Context then, this was a few months into the national COVID lockdown in England and Wales. Way too much law to get into about that, but let's see how this goes.
Right, I've got to go to quite a serious incident.
The officer here begins by explaining that he's in a hurry and he's got an important job to get to. Fair enough, quick explanation. The driver appears to be filming the officer. The officer also has a body-worn camera. I do hope that was turned on.
The reason I stopped you is when you came out of the barns, no offence to you, but you're a black male, okay? I'm not going to lie to you.
Wow, that took a turn. When you came out of the barns, that sounds lovely, doesn't it? You're a black man, I'm not going to lie to you. Holy crap. The driver is, as you will have gathered, black in charge of a motor vehicle, that well-known offence under the racist Wazak Act of 1803. This had better be one hell of an explanation.
It's racist when you stop me.
I'm not saying that at all. The reason I've stopped you, I'll explain if you let me finish.
Not a good start. Get shirty with the driver for asking whether he was stopped because of his ethnicity. I would not be getting shirty here, officer.
All right. In this area, we have a number of drug dealers. I'm not saying you're a drug dealer. That come up from other areas that don't live anywhere around here.
I live here.
I know you might know that, but I don't because I've never met you before. Yeah. Okay. So the reason I've stopped you is because I haven't seen you before, and I've been a local officer for a long, long time here. Yeah. So I've turned round, and then when we came out to Kings Avenue, your car had disappeared.
I love it when officers describe cars or people disappearing in evidence. It's some crazy metaphysical stuff going on around the country. But seriously, you are black. I know all of our local blacks, so what you're dealing then, Chuckles. That's pretty much what he's just said.
I hadn't disappeared because I saw you in the mirror actually. Because you come out.
We saw you go up Kings Avenue, and we went up Kings Avenue, and then we couldn't see your vehicle. So whether you went off us down the side street or not, I don't know. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. Have you got any ID on you? Just for your details on, just so I can yes. Your ID, mate. That'd be brilliant.
Did you didn't hear the update for us, did you? No. Industrial accident at Wild Tracks, life-changing injuries they want us to go to.
Okay, no worries.
That little chat whilst the driver is looking for his identification tells you that there is a road traffic incident that they've been called to involving a life-changing injury. So somebody's losing a limb or something along those lines. But these officers are prioritising this inexplicable behaviour instead.
Who wants to see it?
I'll take it, sir. Thank you very much.
Just explain why we stopped you. So for me, a little bit, that seems a little bit strange sometimes, that I drive past a car and then sometimes it disappears. No offence to you, you might have been just going to see a friend. I've got no idea because I don't know you until I stop and ask. Okay. All right. Then when we've done a little bit of a drive around through that estate, we've then seen your car again on Kings Avenue, and that's why we've pulled you over, just to see what you're up to, basically.
The power to stop this vehicle, even on the officer's second attempt at not being racist, does not exist.
Okay. I'm not accusing you of being a drug dealer, I'm not accusing you of being a criminal. Okay. But if I don't stop people, how can I do my job?
Is what you did.
Yeah, but not because I'm racist, but because in this area we have a number of people that come up to this area that are young black males that deal drugs.
Only a Daily Mail reader or a white person with absolutely zero empathy would find this explanation anything other than absurd, and in law it is total nonsense.
So if I was white you wouldn't have stopped me?
No, I stopped lots of white people.
But if I was white you wouldn't have stopped me?
Yes, I would have done.
You would have stopped me if I was white, even though I drove past you. You wouldn't have.
If you're accusing me of being a racist,
I am. Come sue me, officer.
I'm not accusing you of being a racist. Right. I'm just asking you a question. If I drove past you, if I was a white person, I drove past you, you wouldn't have turned around and come after me, would you?
Maybe not today, but
no,
I stopped.
You're racist,
no,
then,
I'm not racist. I stop more white people than I ever stop black people.
Well, some of my best collars have been white isn't much of an argument. We can see in the video here that they're in Cambridgeshire, very close to my former home, in fact. Your statistics aren't shocking, officer, when the population of that county is over 94% white, and the next largest ethnic group is Asian at 2.9%. I wonder if your stop ethnicities break down along those lines. Well, spoilers, nope. In 2019-2020, black people in Cambridgeshire were searched at 8 times the rate of white people. People from mixed backgrounds were searched nearly 2.5 times the rate of white people, and Asians were searched just under twice the rate of white people.
Proving it, though, haven't you? If I was white and I drove past you, you would not have turned around. But if I'm a black person that drove past you, you've turned around and come see me.
I've explained to you why I've stopped you, okay? I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't stop people that commit crimes in these areas. And we have young black males in this area that come from outside of Cambridgeshire that deal drugs. I'm not suggesting that you do that, but that's why I've stopped you, because we don't have that many young black males in this area.
Okay, fair enough, but the fact is, Joe, you didn't have to stop me. You could have checked my details.
And the driver nails it. No need to stop at all. This gets a 1 out of 10, but only because they didn't decide to try and charge him with anything. Let's hope this gets better. This show is Night Cops, Series 1, Episode 5. Mad Friday in Wrexham. What a lovely idea. Mad Friday is the last Friday before Christmas in the UK, sometimes called Black Eye Friday due to the amount of alcohol-soaked street violence that occurs. How very festive. I do not envy any police officer working this shift.
The one before Christmas. In fact, it's such a big night for bad behaviour that the police have affectionately named it Mad Friday.
And Wrexham is a town in North Wales. It's actually quite nice, but has some very serious problems with antisocial behaviour and substance abuse, amongst other things.
PC Paul Hughes is keeping his eyes and ears peeled.
Racially aggravated public order.
I'd rather wear a turban amounting to racially aggravated public order.
Yeah, you sang I'd rather wear a turban.
Well, that didn't seem like a very confident explanation from the officer.
Can't sing racist songs, mate. What's racist songs? So I'd rather wear a turban.
Bit of Welsh knowledge. This charming song is called I'd Rather Wear a Turban Than a Rose. It's a song occasionally sung at Welsh rugby matches where they play England, and in particular it was played in 2005 in one of those games. The reason is that the rose is the national symbol of England, so a bit of Welsh nationalism against the English. The incident at that game was even subject to an academic study into racism in sport. Spoilers, it was found to be pretty racist against the English, not a race but a nation, and also against Sikhs.
I consider it to be racist.
The lad doesn't believe he's done anything wrong. PC Hughes begs to differ.
It's racist. I perceived it to be racist, so he's saying it's not. However, it's what I perceive it to be, so he's been arrested for a racial aggravated behaviour.
But here's the law. Words or behaviour that are merely insulting, or the displaying of writing, signs or visible representations which are merely insulting, within the hearing of someone likely to be caused harassment, alarm or distress, no longer constitutes a criminal offence under Section 5 of the Public Order Act, because, if this was after the 1st of February 2014, what we're watching in the video, the law changed and this behaviour would have had to have been threatening or abusive in order to be an offence. This is courtesy of the Human Rights Act, by the way. You'd think the Daily Mail might like that. It is likely that this incident falls short of that, looking at the video. I think we can stop there, but not before observing that the singing of racist songs, offence or not, indicates the kind of person you are. Maybe being this guy is both his crime and his punishment. But on the scores front, rather than the storm front, this clip is worth a 4 out of 10 because he got the law wrong and this would have gone nowhere, but he didn't compound his error in the way that some of the other officers have here by charging him with anything daft, and he was fairly civilised about it. And just to note, if this was before the law changed, this could have been a 10 out of 10 if we'd had a little bit more information about what was going on around the officers at the time. Next up is Police Interceptors, Series 8, Episode 5.
2 males. We'll go for a stop. Alright.
That bus?
Yeah, not too bad, mate.
Yeah, alright, good.
You jumping down ready?
Yeah.
You know what's happening?
Yeah.
Well, if you do
Steve and Ken just want a quiet word.
A quiet word. I mentioned at the start there is no such thing.
Yes, you are being detained.
For what? For what crime?
Under the Misuse of Drugs Act, you're being detained while I establish whether or not we're going to be conducting a search. I can't do that.
Okay, detained under the Misuse of Drugs Act. Well, here we've got 2 lads on a street in broad daylight without something else on the face of it. To conduct a search under the Misuse of Drugs Act or the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, the officer must have reasonable grounds to believe that the person has drugs, something stolen, or one of a number of prohibited items on them.
Well, I can't do that if I allow you to walk off. Your behaviour is erratic. There's intelligence linking you to the supply of controlled drug in this area. Therefore, you're both being searched. I've just told you.
Ah, there's intelligence linking you to the supply of controlled drugs in this area. If this is so, not sure we've seen any erratic behaviour here, but the intelligence may give reason to stop. But we don't know what the intelligence is, so it's hard to say.
Okay.
So you do understand that? Just pop your hands out your pocket, dude.
No, I don't understand that. No, you can't arrest me. Listen, boss.
Let me explain it to you then, mate.
Boss, you can't just start arresting me for what? For what?
You're not arrested, you're being detained.
No, I'm being detained for what, though?
You're not arrested, you're being detained. This is a legal difference, and the officers are quite correct to make that clear.
The purpose of drug search, mate.
For what, though?
Backup has arrived, and not a moment too soon.
I'll explain it to you.
No, not for all, man. You're all loud up, man. Don't kick off, no.
Steve and Ken are satisfied that neither lad is carrying a knife, but they're both resisting the search, so the cuffs are coming out.
Okay, there's active intelligence linking you to the supply of drugs in this area.
Now, so far, these young men are in the wrong. The detention is lawful, it seems to me, and officers may use reasonable force to search you if you don't comply.
The smell of cannabis emanating from you. You're smoking cannabis.
I'm wondering.
Are you taking something today?
No. Boss.
Because your eyes are like pinpricks, mate.
What are? It doesn't matter.
You froth it at your mouth.
One then, do your thing here. Go put my bag. Do your little.
I will do. I'll do it.
your thing.
Just spin around for me. Just face my colleague.
Touching me.
Stop whinging.
Brother, it's touching me.
I think it's got something in there, crotch, mate.
Yeah, no.
Brother.
You got something down your pants,
See it there, yeah.
What do you mean got something down
Just
my
get your hands
crotch?
out. Get your hands out.
Nothing down my crotch.
You got something there,
You can't touch me knob. Bro, look, it's my knob. You know what? Get my cock out. Let's get it out. No. I'm going to show him now.
This loud-mouthed lad is adamant that he's got nothing to hide.
But this search in a public street starts to get a little further than outer clothing. Whilst not removing the lad's sweatpants, the officers do go so far as to search inside at least one of the lad's pants. That being so, this search should have been stopped and resumed somewhere more private. The back of a police van would have been absolutely fine for that. And looking down his pants with an officer of the opposite sex immediately adjacent and assisting is clearly a breach of the procedure.
But the game's up for his mate.
So you got some cannabis down your pants, yeah?
What?
There's some cannabis down your pants, I can see it.
I can smell it.
I can see it. Is that all that's down there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait, because it's quite far down. How old are you? How old are you? 17. Is there anything else down there?
No.
Just the weed?
Yeah.
You know what this is? It's harassment, isn't it?
No, it's not harassment.
It's not harassment, mate. Just chill out.
Look, I haven't got nothing.
Right.
Go down my boxes.
I'm not going down your boxes. I'm going round your waist. I'm going round your waistband.
When he starts to squeal again about the officer going down his boxes, this should also have triggered the search to be moved to somewhere private. Now, you may think this is a bit cautious, but this male is under 18, and, for all the officers know, he may be a victim of sexual abuse or rape, and it's a known fact now that those who commit crimes have often been the victims of crime. This, in many studies, appears especially true in young males. And with the rise in so-called county lines cases, vulnerable young males are frequently inducted into drug supply because of that vulnerability. Nothing is ever as simple as you think.
What can you get? You know what? I actually ain't got nothing on me, but you know, you can't go on like this.
Well, it appears you got something stuffed down your pants, mate. So.
Ken's made another discovery. These not-so-smartphones are often used by drug dealers to do business without being traced.
True, burner phones are often a good sign of dealing, but not on their own, of course.
So what concerns me is you've got 2 burner-style mobile phones that you're saying aren't yours. You've been quite quick to declare they're not yours.
I've had phones broke at home, and the other one's my mate's phone. I just phoned my mum on it. Like, what's your problem?
Okay.
The lad reckons he borrowed the mobile to phone his mum.
Yeah.
Claiming that they aren't your phones in your pocket. The shaggy defence.
At least some cannabis down your pants.
Oh my
So you're
God,
probably going to be detained for a full strip search, and we'll need to get an appropriate adult.
Well, she's about to get another call.
Who is your guardian or who looks after you?
My mum.
Where does she live?
Not my house.
Right, the final score for this batch of clips is fairly solid at 7 out of 10. These boys were minors, they were cuffed and going nowhere. There was no need to search below the waist in public with a female officer present when at least one of them was protesting about it. Call the van, do it properly, otherwise you could have had a 10. And that's it for this episode. If you have any clips from TV and film that you would like ruining, please get in touch via the link below the video. As ever, please do not post your personal legal dilemmas in public comments. It would be stupid, but as I've said before, somebody will. If you need legal advice, don't get it from YouTube, even from us. Call a lawyer. And if you're arrested or going to be interviewed by the police, no matter what they tell you, get a lawyer. It's free and it's to keep everyone honest. Bye for now.